Have you ever wanted to look into retro games but aren't sure where to begin? Do you ever wonder which classic games stand the test of time and which ones don't hold up? These are some questions that have been bothering me for a while now, and I think it's about time to do something about it. So I'm going through gaming's history one game at a time to try to find the best games of all time. Welcome to the Gaming Archaeologist. I may not be the biggest fan of the original two Zelda games, but the series as a whole is something I actually do enjoy a great deal. The first Zelda is not very good, but at its core it had some interesting ideas. As much as I like Zelda 2, it's admittedly got quite a few flaws as well. Neither are truly great games. It wasn't until the third game, A Link to the Past, that the Zelda series truly began to shine. While I have played A Link to the Past before, I didn't grow up with it, and I didn't actually play it until almost 2 decades after its original release. And even though it does show its age a bit, it's still a phenomenally well put together game. The first major improvement is that there is an actual story. Granted, story isn't always necessary in a game, but providing context and a sense of weight to your goal can make the journey feel so much bigger and more important. A Link to the Past sets things up by giving us a little backstory. A long time ago, there was a golden power in a golden land that was sought by many, who journeyed from Hyrule to this golden land to obtain it. A person of evil intention got to it first, and fearing that the evil would spread to Hyrule, 7 wise sages cast a seal that separated the two lands. But now, many years later, an evil wizard named Aghanim is trying to break the seal by sacrificing maidens descended from the wise sages. One of these is Princess Zelda, who calls to the player character, Link, in the middle of the night, and thus he embarks on a quest to save the princess and prevent evil from consuming the land. The story is admittedly nothing special. It's your fairly standard good versus evil scenario, but the game executes it incredibly well, and in a way that merges the story and gameplay together perfectly. The game starts off with Link sneaking into the castle to rescue the princess. This whole thing lets the player get a feel for what's at stake, as well as acting as a basic tutorial for the gameplay. Once you've rescued the princess, you are then free to roam the land of Hyrule. If you want to, you can just focus on completing the main goals of the game, or you can explore and see what there is to discover. The game does reward exploration, but at the same time always makes it clear where you need to go when you're ready to tackle the next part of the main quest. Some may see having map markers as a bit hand-holding, but I think it's much preferable to the first game's approach, which was to give the player no direction and have a map that was almost entirely useless. Another thing A Link to the Past does different from the original is that it doesn't let the player explore the entire world from the beginning, instead requiring the player to complete dungeons to unlock tools that will allow the player to access new areas. Some may see this as restricting the player's freedom, but I think overall it's a good thing, as it gives the game proper pacing and lets the world open up bit by bit. The game also has a nice difficulty curve, with each dungeon just a little more challenging than the last one. The game introduces a lot of new staples on top of what was already established in the first game, but probably the most unique aspect of the game is the dual world mechanic. Just when you think your quest is almost over, the game pulls a fast one on you, and you discover that that was only the beginning. It reveals there to be another world parallel to Hyrule. Switching back and forth between the light world and the dark world is key to solving many puzzles, as well as fully exploring both lands. Honestly, the game is just really good, and is a million times better than the original. But it does have a few flaws here and there. While the game is overall much more intuitive and fair, there are still a handful of puzzles that have solutions that are rather unclear. While the graphics do look nice, they are a bit dated, and some parts of the game look better than others, though there is a good variety of environments. There's also little things, like the swordplay still being a little awkward, though much better than in the first game, and the Dark World dungeons reusing the same music over and over and over. Seriously, it's not a bad song, but by the time you get to Ganon's tower, you just want to rip your ears out because of how dull and monotonous hearing that tune has become. But aside from a few nitpicks, it's easy to see why A Link to the Past is so revered, and in my opinion, it's the first truly fantastic Zelda game. So, does it hold up? Taking it as a whole, I would say it does. It's not flawless, but it's pretty close. It's a fun adventure with a simple but memorable storyline that finds the right balance of being challenging without being frustrating. If you haven't played it, I would highly recommend it. My final score for A Link to the Past is a 9 out of 10. So those were my thoughts on this classic. What do you think? Have you played A Link to the Past? What's your favorite Zelda game? Are there any SNES games you'd like me to review? Whatever your thoughts, be sure to let me know in the comments below. The next game I'll be reviewing is Mega Man X. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.